So, did anyone know that today is National Ice Cream Day? It's true. The third Saturday of July every year is the day when it's our patriotic duty to eat some ice cream. How terrible could that be? It was apparently declared by Ronald Reagan in 1984 as a day to be observed by appropriate ceremonies and activities. So I invite us all right now to just have a moment of silence as we appreciate ice cream. All right, feeling a little sweeter now?
No.
Anyone have a favorite flavor or that they were thinking of as they were appreciating?
Coffee bean.
Coffee bean?
Tiger's tail.
Tigers. Oh, I think that's a Canadian one.
Orange with chocolate.
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
Nice.
Caramel Sutra.
Which one?
Caramel Sutra.
Oh, caramel sutra. That sounds good. That sounds like a Santa Cruz flavor.
I've been in cherries.
Oh, yes. Yum. All right. Seriously, and I do think ice cream is actually quite serious because I love it. It, I think, holds an important place in many of our hearts and clearly in American stomachs because according to the Mercury News on Friday, the average American eats 4 gallons of ice cream per year. Everybody holding up their part of that bargain? I know I am, and then some. I can also remember what it was like when I was a kid and you heard that ice cream truck jingle going down your street. You'd just kind of like drop everything, and hopefully you already had your coins stuck in your pocket because you had to rush out and make sure that you got there. Hopefully some kid made it first and stopped the truck and there would be a line and you had time to get there and get your ice cream before the truck moved on to another neighborhood. And then there is that most sacred of places, the ice cream parlor. Now, I don't know, somebody said the best one in Scotts Valley is Penny's, is that so? I know I'm a Mary Ann's fan. They're also good. 2 very different types of ice cream. But in our family, we had a Baskin-Robbins in our neighborhood, and it was the place that we would go for any need for simple celebration or also comfort. I mean, if there was a soccer game or a kid's performance, win or lose, best performance of their lives, or, you know, kind of didn't quite get it right, we would go out for ice cream, and it would be just the right thing. I mean, first boyfriends, college letters, acceptance or rejection, and ice cream just seemed to do the trick. And you know, the great thing about the ice cream parlor is there's usually other families there that either came from the thing that you just came from, or are there for, you can kind of tell, pretty much the same types of reasons. So it sort of feels like a secret party that, you know, anyone can just drop in on. I mean, if you don't, even if you don't have a thing that you need to celebrate, if you pop by the ice cream parlor, it'll feel like that there's a thing going on there. And you know, the other great thing about the ice cream parlor, whether it's 33 flavors or 50, it's like there's something for everyone, and even now dairy-free and sugar-free. So it's the best. I think we all need a place like this where we can go when we're feeling overjoyed or overwhelmed. It's the kind of place that just restores. You feel a little bit more sweet and easy in whatever way you might need in that moment. And I do not think that we appreciate how lucky we are to have places like that, neighborhood ice cream shops and all that. Because I fancy that Jesus would have loved to have had access to one along the shores of the Sea of Galilee back in his day. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
He, I feel, has definitely hit what I would call an ice cream moment in today's gospel reading. He sent his disciples out 2 by 2. That was a couple weeks ago that we read about that, but they're now coming back. They were sent out to heal in Jesus' name, to cast out demons, and to spread the good news of the kingdom of God far and wide. Well, at the opening reading, here they are. They've come back, and they are so excited. They are chiming in right and left. Guess what we did? It worked. We healed, we taught, they learned things. Their hearts and minds were changed. Well, Jesus is thinking it's hard to take this all on board, and we just need to step aside for a little bit. He wants to go somewhere away from what is becoming a really busy life of this itinerant band of preachers, because there's people who have noticed what Jesus is doing and what his disciples are doing. So Jesus thinks, I think we'll go somewhere quiet and a little bit more deserted, just so we can celebrate these successes together and have a little bit of, R&R. Jesus wants to regroup with his disciples. He needs time to listen to all of the stories of their travels one at a time, and the ministry that they've done on his behalf, in a place of peace and leisure. Then they'll have time to strategize together what's next for them and how they can start to meet the growing demands from the crowds that flock to them for more of this healing and comfort. They want to touch Jesus and get closer, and it's a lot of them. It's a lot to manage. And as I think about it, maybe the local watering hole or something like that would be just a little bit too public for Jesus and his disciples to get what they need in this moment, because it looks like they are getting more popular than the proverbial ice cream truck here. They can't just slip away quietly, even by hopping into a boat and heading out for a less busy shore. Wherever they go, it seems like people are coming after them. They figure it out, because word has really gotten out, not just about Jesus, but also about Jesus' disciples and the things that they're doing too. In many ways, Jesus and his disciples have become the place where people go to seek restoration and renewal, comfort and healing. They're flocking to them, and they are bringing their loved ones who are sick and in need of healing. Now, that wasn't Jesus' plan, right? He wanted to get away a little bit. He wanted to have time for a little celebration and resting, kind of on their laurels. But Jesus is Jesus, and he is not going to turn his back. And neither is he going to let his disciples do that. Though, see, here's the thing. It's sometimes hard to pick this up, but there's these 2 readings, and they're separated from each other by some other stuff. And in that other stuff, we get the disciples kind of trying. They actually say to Jesus, send that crowd away. But you know what Jesus says? He says to them, you feed them. You feed them. Jesus has this deep well of compassion when faced with all of those needs, represented by this crowd of people that have sought him out. And so you know what Jesus does? He changes his plans. Instead of heading for that deserted place, they kind of set that aside for a bit, and they do the ministry that's right there in front of them. People get fed, people get healed, and they get to meet and touch Jesus. And their hearts and their minds and lives are transformed. Now, I know that these two kind of disconnected tiny snippets from Mark's gospel that we have before us this week don't give us a lot of the big splashy stuff. It completely skips over the miracle of feeding of 5,000, and also in there somewhere fits in Jesus walking on water. But no, we kind of get the bookends of all of that. But I still think that there is much to celebrate that is sweet and easy and, you know what, renewing for us here today. First, we get to see that Jesus and his disciples need peace and quiet and a place of rest and renewal just like everyone else. Jesus is not the type to just keep going and going until he and his disciples drop from exhaustion. And I think this gives us permission to not do that either. You know, there's so much out there in our own lives that can overwhelm us, whether with worry or just, trying to get it all done. We are being invited here, I think, to seize those little, what I would call ice cream moments, to just step away, celebrate, and console, because those kinds of moments are precious and fleeting, but mean everything for us and for the people around us that are with us in this. The second thing I think we discover here is that, you know what? Things do not always go as planned. And we know that's true for us, but clearly it's true for Jesus too. I mean, we get this happening twice here. In the first snippet, we see Jesus seeking that deserted place, and then he has to switch tack, and because people have followed him there. And then again, we see Jesus send his disciples off to Bethsaida to meet him so that he can have a little quiet trip across the lake in a boat. And stuff happens, and somehow they end up in Gennesaret instead, nowhere near each other on the Sea of Galilee. Might have something to do with Jesus walking on water, but we'll have to dig into that, and when we get to that in the future. But in both cases, Jesus places his priority on compassion. He does the ministry in whatever place he finds himself, whether he planned it or not. Now, I'd say that feels like a very pertinent model for us today, especially as Christians and followers of Jesus in the year 2024. Because, you know what? It feels like everything has been changing for us in ways that I don't think we could have ever guessed 5, 10, or 15 years ago. So we're being invited into a change of plans. We have an opportunity to figure out how to meet all of those needs that are in front of us today. How we feed the hungry, heal the sick, care for the vulnerable in new ways and places just like Jesus would have. And then finally, I think that this little set of passages gives us a glimpse at how little by little people are discovering that Jesus himself can be that place where we all can find sweetness and celebration, healing, and reconnection. I mean, it's clear that just meeting and touching Jesus changes everything for people, bodies, hearts, and minds. And I think it just might be part of what Jesus meant when he said way back at the beginning of Mark that the kingdom of God has come near. Now, many years later, another group of followers of Jesus miles away in the ancient Roman city of Ephesus is also putting those pieces together in terms of their understanding of who Jesus is as that place of solace and strength and transformation. In what we heard today from the letter of Ephesians, we heard stuff like Jesus brings us together in ways that we could never have imagined, with people that we thought that we would not ever have anything in common with, and yet here we are, forming a community of faith in Jesus together. We also hear them write that Jesus heals all kinds of deep divisions and hostility that feel overwhelming and immutable to us in our human lives and communities. And they also articulate it really clearly that they experience Jesus as the place where we can seek our heart's center. They say it's not the kind of thing that we can build or keep for ourselves or for our own. It's something bigger that unites all of humanity. It's something that is for all of humanity. For through Jesus, God dwells in all of us, wherever we are. And Jesus gathers us together, healing our divisions, forming what they describe, I love this image, the foundation. Jesus forms the foundation of a place for us all that is nothing less than the household of God. Now, doesn't that sound sweet? I think so. We all need a place like this. We need it not just when we're feeling overjoyed or overwhelmed. We need a place like this all the time. And lucky for us, Jesus is not just passing through like the ice cream truck. We're not going to miss Jesus because the kingdom of God is always right there at hand. The kingdom of God is near. So I just want to close with an ice cream poem, because I think ice cream really does capture for us the kind of excitement that this good news about Jesus that we've heard today gives all of us. We heard it in the frenzy of people coming to meet Jesus, and I think I feel it every time I think about this. So, this is a poem by Jack Perlitsky, and it is called Bleezer's Ice Cream. I am Ebenezer Bleezer. I run Bleezer's Ice Cream Store. There are flavors in my freezer that you have never seen before. 28 divine creations, too delicious to resist. Why not do yourself a favor and try the flavors on my list? Coca Mocha macaroni, tapioca smoked bologna, checkerberry cheddar chew, chicken cherry honeydew, tutti frutti stewed tomato, tuna taco, baked potato, lobster lychee, lima bean, mozzarella, mangosteen, almond ham, meringue salami, yam anchovy prune pastrami, sassafras souvlaki hash, and sukiyaki succotash. I am Ebenezer Bleezer. I run Bleezer's Ice Cream Store. Taste the flavor from my freezer and you will surely ask for more.